Hello and welcome to June 26th, where we're reading First Chronicles 8 through 11. Now, 8 and 9 are all about names. Can't do much for you there. And chapters 10 and 11 are more about the stories, which we've seen before, but at least I know them because I've seen them before, so that I'm familiar with that. When you get into chapter 8 of First Chronicles, you get into Benjamin's family. Cool. And if you get into chapter 9 of First Chronicles, not Second Chronicles, what am I talking about? If you get into chapter 9 of First Chronicles, you get a bunch of descendants from after the exile. Now, again, this is written in a much later time period. This is written about the events that happened during the life of David and all the rest of the kings, but it's written far in the future. It's written several hundred years after that happened. If David was alive around, the 950s, 970 or something like that was when he began his reign. If David was alive around then, or slightly wrong on that, if David was alive around the year 1000 BC, then it is curious. This is written 500 years later in 539 at the earliest, because it talks about events that happen in 539. And so this is a long time in the future from these events, and yet he's recording past history. And so he writes down all of the exiles coming back as well. As you get into chapter 10, that's much more my speed, much more my territory, what I'm familiar with. You get into Saul, and Saul and his children, they die. This is basically a recitation of 1 Samuel chapter 31, I think it was, where Saul was on a mountain. He went to war with the Philistines, and he ended up losing. He kind of killed himself, and, well, he definitely did. And he was hung up for sport, and of course, some guys cut him down and buried him. You get a theological interjection in chapter 10 and verse 13 that Saul died for his unfaithfulness to the Lord, because he didn't keep the Lord's word. Chronicles is going to be basically theological history. It's history, but with a bent towards what God has done and what God is doing. So keep that in mind as you read it. It talks a little bit about God's judgments on things. When you get into chapter 11, then you have a lot of events recorded in the first opening chapters of 2 Samuel, with David being anointed as king, David capturing Jerusalem. That's chapter 5 of 2 Samuel, and a list of all these great things that David's warriors did, which I think is 2 Samuel, like 21 or something like that. It's later in the book, 23 maybe, but it's a list of how great David's people were. We're glorifying David. We're kind of upping David. We're showing how great he is and how interesting his lineage is going to be. That's much of the point of 1st and 2nd Chronicles, and so that's what we start here. David is the king, and he has some pretty cool guys with him, so you might want to pay attention to him. He's pretty special. I'll see you tomorrow, where we're reading 1 Chronicles 12 through 14 and finishing out this week.